Welcome to the Living Directors Podcast, the Severance episodes. My name is Derek A., the founder of the network and co-host of this show. Joining me today, as always, the indubitable, the irrefutable podcaster extraordinaire, Amy D. This is Season 2, Episode 9 of the brilliant Apple TV Plus show Severance. This one's titled The After Hours. There is a Twilight Zone episode called The After Hours that I watched once. I recommend watching that on Paramount Plus. It's like 99 cents a month right now. No paid advertising here. Just go watch the After Hours Twilight Zone episode. If you're a Severance fan, if you know this penultimate episode, well, go watch that now. It's like 22 minutes. And then come back and listen to the pod. And it will help. It will. Should I tell you what it's about? It's about a woman goes into a mall looking for a gold thimble for her mom. She goes to the 9th floor, which isn't really a floor. The mannequins turn into people. The people turn into the mannequins. And assuming that you've paused and watched and you're back now, here is the Living Directors Podcast, Severance episodes, The After Hours, Episode 9. We're almost there. Let's begin with breaking down the intro, because these intros are always fascinating, because they'll step back to episode 1 or episode 4 or whatever. They hop all over the place. The intro starts out with Dylan finding Irving's map, the black hallway, the black elevator that only goes down. Gemma at the end, or near the end of episode 7, she goes down the black hallway and is stopped by Mr. Milchek.
Yes.
So that's important. Irving was fired, in case we forgot, after he almost killed Helly R by drowning her on the Ortbo retreat.
Yes.
He mentions that I think they know what my innie was up to. What line? That's a weird line. How does Irving Audi know what his innie was up to? It's a thought.
Okay, so...
Was he told?
Let's start. I don't know. But also, if... I did a little, recon into the whole Irving and Bert situation because I was sort of confused. And I think that Irving, his Audi, and Innie were more integrated because my theory is that Irving has done this many times. Like, he's, in a reincarnation cycle, right? And so with that, he has retained some outer memories. But he
has to have. I mean, based on some of the stuff we've seen here.
But, his love, which is so strange, too, because, they don't remember their inside relationship, him and Walken, but the love still sort of, carries on, or, the infatuation, whatever that was. And I was looking into, because it took me a minute to sort of understand, these are his notes. These are Irving's notes of Walken or Bert and his misdeeds in the back. So he used to be basically like a mafia driver. And the reason we know he has these outer thoughts is because he uses different language than they would if it was his innie. Mm-hmm. So I think there is sort of just all this to say there's some sort of nexus of the two for him, and that's why that he's very primed to be killed.
And there's some significant scenes with the two of them. Not to forget about Cecil, who is Bert's husband.
Yes,
he's shown in the intro, the recap as well. I believe that innies deserve to experience love. A reminder of that's kind of Bert's journey as an innie this time around, maybe, is that he's a guilty man who's trying to achieve a level of innocence, love, etc. His husband seems to be fine with that. And we see that in a different way with Gretchen and Dylan's innie. Dylan's Audi, of course, is not fine with that, and this is one of the early scenes in this episode. In the intro, we're reminded that innie, Dylan, and Gretchen kiss. Dylan, of course, is going to fall madly in love based on being an innie and not having many experiences in life. He says, I really wish we could be together. Gretchen says, well, we are, aren't we? Can we talk about Gretchen a little bit here?
Well, I wanted to say, I noticed in like, I think my third time watching this, that she says to him, he reminded me of how you used to be.
Yeah. Can we break down, as a woman, can you help me kind of break down Gretchen's POV here, her mindset? Is she guilty in any way? Is she wrong for anything that she's doing here? She does lie to her outie Dylan about seeing, she finally reveals it, but is Gretchen, is she doing anything wrong or bad here?
I honestly, like, until you pointed it out that she was doing something wrong, I was like, same body. But then I was like, memories, like, that's a big deal, right?
And
like,
she's lying. They're technically two different minds.
Right, but I'm like, it's your husband, and but it is, that's the whole crux of like the goal. Like, what is the real life? Is the real life the 31 days you spend out in the real world, or is it being a mannequin, right?
Yeah.
Like, which one is the real one? And so they share it. And so to me, I'm like, Gretchen doesn't do anything wrong, except for when, like, truly you pointed it out, and I'm like, oh, I see where you're coming from, but I'm still like, she's the way she's doing wrong is that she doesn't understand she's being used as a carrot or an eraser or some sort of reward to keep Dylan in check, right? And so, but when she says to him, it reminded me of an older version of you. It's like, well, yeah, first of all, he doesn't have the kids. This version of Dylan doesn't have any of the real life. And also, it's a younger version of him psychologically.
Which we've talked about. So, in a way, the taking advantage of, quote unquote, energy is there with Gretchen a bit. We know what she's yearning for, this like lost feeling from her husband.
She thinks it's so weird in the beginning, though. It's like, she is like, I guess, she didn't understand the capacity at which, like, how weird this would be. And then, but I kind of don't blame her, while it might be wrong, because she's been asked to come in, and it's like,
it's kind of inevitable this is going to happen in a way.
Yeah, but she may not have thought of that. She might have just thought like, oh, he's going to be like some weird, like, flat minded person, and his feelings are so adolescent. It's like really hard when someone stirs up like that level of like, remember what it used to be like, our first love. And
I'm not saying that Gretchen's fully aware of his psychological adolescence, but that's kind of a big deal. Like, you can't treat, of course you're gonna, we see basically falls apart once she has to leave, and like that was all inevitable too. It is kind of like taking advantage of a child,
right?
As
I don't
weird as that might sound.
Don't think she would understand like how adolescent he was. I think she just thinks he's like a man unburdened by the real world.
Okay.
But
I'm not trying to go all Tate Bros here. I'm just trying to.
No. I don't think she's innocent. I think it's gray. I think she's being used.
Right.
She's getting something out of, and it's not like she doesn't tell him ever. And when
she eventually does, she just lies. She lies once though, so there's cheaty vibes right there when you're lying.
But it's like she's cheating with him. It's like, that's what's so crazy, because it's like, is it emotional cheating? I don't.
Oh, it's physical.
Yeah, no, it's physical.
Let's we'll get to that a bit more. Let's we got Milchick and Drummond in the intro. They give us a little bit of this because we get more of this in the episode. We're reminded that Milchick there's been 3 contentions reported that are great risks and harm to the Egan name.
I know we're supposed to hate that guy, but like, I hate that guy.
Drummond?
Yeah.
I hate the Egans more than Drummond.
Well, right. But it's just like,
James Egan is the.
Oh, he's supreme creep. Yeah. We'll get into that. James.
Right.
Yeah.
Milchick's crimes are that he uses too many big words, and the calamitous Ortbo. The calamitous Ortbo is a very fair contention. They're using too many big words. That's we're kind of experiencing that. That's a microcosm of like Trump v. Harvard. It's like, smart people bad. They cause disruption to my fascist enterprise.
Well, what's so weird about that, I thought, is that like the way they talk about things with the innies, I know it has to be like simplified because they're children, but also it is very specific, and they use a different. Yeah. She uses that word at the end, perilous. And like, they use
big words with the innies all the time.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I don't understand what this is.
But Milchick isn't in any. Those are real people having real people conversations.
Right. He's
you know
using it with the real. Maybe you're not supposed to use big words with authority. Maybe you're supposed to use big words with. Okay,
it's got to go top down.
But when you bring Trump into it, I'm like, that guy doesn't know a big word to save his life. Yeah.
Right. Usually the case.
Bigly, you know.
We're reintroduced to Miss Casey in Cold Harbor. Cold Harbor is this kind of final mission that we're aware of. We're at 96%. We're trying to. Cold Harbor's at like final 4%. And that's a big part of this episode. We're reminded of Mark and Mrs. Selvig, the toxic neighbor relationship that they have had.
Okay, but I realized why too his sister might trust Miss Selvig more, even though she's not an Apple phone user, because it was like with her baby, like she never, even though it's like it was under false pretenses, it's like she still didn't fuck up the baby.
I'm
like,
on team that
we're all on team Selvig now, but at the time it was like, what is this?
Well, not team Selvig. I'm on team Devin.
I'm
on team Devin not being in on this, quote unquote. Those theories of like she's not working with Lumen or Selvig / Cobell at all. She's just she's
trying to recover genuine. Her brother. Yeah, no, I agree. I have, just to tease this, I have some like crazy theories on the Gemma and the Egan of it all, though, because I was like, what is going, because these women are like so specifically in character.
You want to do that now, or
we can wait? But I just wanted to tease that I've got, it's kind of like out there woo woo shit, but I think it does align. So
we got a ton to get through. Let's
lead the show.
No, that's great though. I want to hear that badly. We need that. This is what you're here for. We're reintroduced to Sissy from last episode. Everything you have, you owe back to the Egans, she says to her niece, Harmony Cobell, and we're reminded that Harmony screams, "It's mine, my designs." The Demona birthing retreat we're reminded of, and finally, Devin trusting Mrs. Selvig.
I did not notice until you said it. It was called the Demona birthing retreat, and that's very interesting to me because Mona is like one, right? Like the monad, the one, and it's like this play, right? Mono. There's many variations. Mona Lisa. Yes, Monday, right? Like, and so it's like the place where two become one. It's the Mona birthing retreat, or it's like the one becomes two. You know, like it's.
This is where, if you want that good etymology, you come to this podcast.
Yeah.
Break down the words.
We love Latin roots here.
Let's get started. That was just the intro. We're 25 minutes deep.
All right.
Okay. Opening. Helena swimming. A lot of swimming with Helly / Helena throughout this. A lot of water, whether she's being drowned or swimming.
You know what water is a really cool metaphor for is emotion.
Oh, I was going to say like going into different worlds.
Yeah, same. That, and also like resistance. You know, there's a lot of but she is going into different worlds for sure. The water and the air and the breathing. Her breathing, the Foley on her breathing was almost like anxiety inducing.
Oh, interesting.
Because I have like anxiety around my breath, and so when I hear like really specific breathing sounds, like even in the Dochi song where she's like breathing, it's like, oh man, I notice it, and it was like, damn, they're really like making a point of her breathing.
Dochi's got to be a little careful how she talks to the help. I don't know if you saw that video.
Oh, kinda the bad. One of her at the Met Gala.
Yeah, kind of bad. It's okay, we still love her. She'll learn from her mistakes.
She's a genius. You know, they're complex people, these geniuses.
The clock's ticking while Helena's swimming. We of course have the snowy outsides. In the After Hours Twilight Zone episode, they mentioned they're in Cleveland.
Okay.
I don't know. Just feel like we're questioning where we are in the country, in the world, this whole time.
Yeah.
It feels a little Clevelandy.
It does feel Clevelandy, even though I've never been there or considered the landscape. I like it.
We feel like we're in the kind of Midwest, up northern America, northern United States.
I thought about the snow in a different way this time, though, because the way they filter it is it's very white and black. And it's very
blues.
dual.
I'd say some blues in there too.
Yeah, blues, but it's all but it's very like stark.
Yeah, it's beautiful
and dark, and it's like it just reminded me again of this like duality of there's this or there's that. There's the snow and the mountain, or there's the dirty ground. Like there's just and if it was not snowy, also the fact that I messaged you about this, that Winter is the 4th season, and the production company is called the 5th season.
Which I always connected to them having like 5 seasons of the show. I didn't think of it that way.
Oh, no.
So I
think of it very much as like what comes after the winter, because the whole point of it is like Cold Harbor, right? Like what happens when she goes to Cold Harbor, which to me is like,
I love that. The
harbor is the place of safety and it's cold. So I don't know. It just, and this could all just be like,
but it's bringing about this kind of new world. 5th season, it's almost like a new dimension, right? It's like this whole new world.
I'll get into with my Gemma and Miss Helly theory later.
Before that, any insight about the egg situation with breakfast? You know, Helena sits down to eat the egg. Her father, James, just drinking, I think, coffee, just kind of creepily, like, making weird noises and, like, hoping that she ate it, wishing she ate it raw still. Just disgusting, dude.
Okay.
The plate, I will say, I looked up, that image on the plate of, like, the child with 2 men trying to, like, corral him is, I think, from a French play called The Hypocrites, a 19th century French play. So maybe that was alluding to some type of hypocrisy.
Definitely. Okay, so let's pair that with, an egg is a very significant, symbolically sort of
cut 6 ways here.
Cut 6 ways, and so if the egg is the consciousness, right, or like the birth, it's many things, right? But like she splits it 6 ways, and she only eats the outer part of the egg,
the white part,
and they refer to, and the symbolism breakdown that I saw, the inner part is the raw part, and it's like, I wish you would do it raw, meaning, right, obviously, I wish you would maybe do it without, like, I wish you would go in there without being severed. Or, like, it made me think of, like, I wish you could experience, like, why can't you do it in raw form? And she's very, and it made me wonder later in the episode, like, I think she's Helly R, but I was like, there's notes of Helly E here, especially when she's like, don't you mean your boss? And Milchek's like, no.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I think that they're trying to throw us off a little bit there.
Okay.
I think she's ultimately is severed. She is Helly R. This is the $1 billion question. When I was in Philadelphia recently, and with a doctor friend, I went out with her doctor friends. Yeah. And they were all fascinated about the podcast. Oh. Which is kind of cool.
Whoa.
Everybody seemed to be in the city. I expected people to be like,
yeah, that's great. Yeah,
tons of interest.
I know people like it too, which is always like shocking because I have low self-esteem, I guess. Yeah.
But that was what people were most fascinated about. Is Helena actually severed or not?
Right.
So that's a reoccurring question that we'll get to. Finally, in this beautiful kind of opening scene of episode 9 at James and Helena's house, or James' house, I don't know if they both live there. Beautiful kind of mansion-y type thing. Helena mentions that we're seeing to Mr. Bailiff. I forgot that was Irving's last name, if we've been told that already. Oh. Bailiff, looks over prisoners.
Yeah.
So there's some insight into who Irving is, which maybe implied that he's been used, he's been used in this system many times over, and he's just like...
Which would also explain why he knows the prison map so well.
And this is like his kind of final revolt against this job that he's had for so long.
His 9th floor. Which would be, the 10th would just kind of start over. Anyways, fascinating.
Okay. And credits roll now.
Oh, we're there.
That's where we're at.
Okay.
Yeah. Allow me to... How did this... While I look up my notes on my phone, how did this episode make you feel? Any criticisms from this? Let's talk about this before we continue.
It seemed... It was more, at face value, more rapidly paced than the last one, but it seemed slower. Maybe because I know where it's going, and maybe because I know where it's been. But like in the context of how we talk about this show, which is we've already seen the whole thing, it did seem like kind of a filler episode, even though it wasn't. Even though the more, and still now, like the more my mind sort of collapses in on itself thinking about the fact that it's called the After Hours, and the whole thing is about these people who are innies and outies, sort of like how they live their lives similarly and differently, and how that manifests in all of them.
Right.
And then, of course, Mark trying to reintegrate. So, I think had I watched it again, I probably would have seen more. But I also could have just been like, I was really ready for the next episode.
I think we've learned that there's no episode in this show that's going to be like, not that good or kind of, filler, like we said, or a table setter. Like, I think this one just required even more kind of an in-depth analysis.
It was cerebral and subtle.
That said, it was a completely typical penultimate setup for the finale in every way.
Yeah.
It was. Like, so in that sense, like, it really wasn't the most entertaining episode. That's okay. It's a necessary episode.
Right.
I didn't love watching this episode. I just got to say.
No, same. And it's funny.
I did, but it didn't make me feel the same way that 8 and 7 did.
It is interesting, though. It's the 9th episode, and it's based on the 9th floor. Like, there's just all these interesting sort of parallels, and it's like, I bet the more we looked, the more we stared, our brains would collapse. Like, it would break. Yeah. And I just think that, like, even people who are like super scholars on this show, or the most like intellectual, analysis of the show, it's like we're all gonna miss something.
Well, and we talked about this in other episodes. Part of why we love the show so much is because it's so challenging, and that's wonderful.
Right. And what signifies something more challenging than like, we know it's intellectually stimulating but feeling bored.
Right.
So it's like, I'm the asshole,
Let's move on along to
Please.
Eustace Huang. I don't know if the first time we hear her first name.
Oh, yeah,
Huang.
I've got a lot of thoughts on this.
Okay, I'll just kind of talk about that scene real quick. She's with Milchick. He mentions the Wintertide Fellowship, which is what Harmony Cobell had. Mm-hmm. Still a thing. Younger, I don't think just girls, younger kids that are involved in it. She's moving from her parents' home to the Gunnar Egan Empathy Center in Svalbard.
Yeah.
Swedish kind of name.
Yeah. It made me think of Selvig, honestly.
Yeah. She's there to steward global reforms.
Oof. Dark.
She's like, I thought I was going to finish the quarter. I mean, the first time we've heard, quarters are in university. I had quarters at Santa Barbara. Mm-hmm. And then there's the ring toss game she has, also of a swimmer, very similar to what we just saw with Helena in the pool. And she has to use that as a material sacrifice, that Milchick has chosen this material sacrifice that she crushes with the bust of Keir.
Well, a couple of things. When you think about how the things that, I know she's an innie outie. I know she's not severed, or right. to be to just sort of use that, the idea that like what they do give the severed people is like erasers, like very pineapple statues. Right. The idea that her toy like that must be like really coveted. I know it's like a dumb toy, but it's like that's a really high value toy in this world. It was
I don't know if, I guess you could kind of call that a humiliation ritual, but it was almost even like a slightly different spin on a humiliation ritual where you have to destroy. It reminded me honestly of season 1 where they had to destroy their own psyche when they went in that room and had to talk about how
sorry they were.
Yeah. Kind of similar psychological effects there. It was just a form of control.
So yeah. Which is interesting too. We'll get to it, but when what's his name tells Milchick, like, he goes, I apologize, and he goes, make it shorter, and it's like, sorry. That's what he wants to hear, which is fascinating to me. But this whole Miss Wang situation, it reminded me of like, this is what Patricia Arquette's character, I can never remember her name,
Harmony Cobell?
through. Yes, Cobell went through as a child.
Sure.
And this is eventually who will replace Milchick. You
right.
know what I mean? Like, it just was sort of a succession of things. And the fact that they have her destroy, or he destroys her toy, her childish thing, with the bust of Egan is like, there's some symbolism there. Yeah, like...
pretty straightforward symbolism. Yeah. We're shown Ditchin and Gretchen, their home life. So Audi, Dylan... Wait, what did I say? Ditchin? Dylan and Gretchen? I don't know.
It's the AI taking over.
Gretchen admits, I kissed your innie for about a minute, so not a peck. Then says that you've been adrift. He reminds me of who you used to be. Pretty brutal for Dylan. And then Dylan, that's when he says, maybe I go quit and end his existence. Speaks to the ultimate control and power of the Audi without really knowing who their innie is.
But also does it because we know that he wants to quit at this point. And then we find, again, it aligns with his innie, I want to quit. And neither of them can quit. He is denied his resignation by what they claim is his Audi.
We don't see that in this episode, though. We see him file the resignation, but we just see him go in the elevator.
Okay, then I just remember that from the last episode, yeah.
But yes, they are coinciding, ironically.
Yes.
Or not. I don't know. We go to Irving's apartment. Bert is in there. He's gotten in. He's reading kind of Irving's notes on kind of the illegal, nefarious ways of Lumen. He's like keeping a tally. I think he mentions Bert by his last name.
Yeah.
And
it's
as a goon. Potential. It's all potential.
Right. No, but it's not, though. I mean, like, it's sort of spy versus spy, and it sort of alludes to why they would be so in love with each other on the inside, because if you're like that fascinated by someone on the outside, even if it's like for just you're trying to investigate them, it's like, oh, you sort of have an affection for them by the end of that process.
How do you get in the apartment?
I looked this up, and somebody during their dinner, I didn't realize this happened in the last season or the last episode, got broke into his apartment. And so
there are keys floating around or something?
Or just like Lumen is on top of this dude.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Here's the more important question.
Do it.
One of the very subtle scenes that could go so overlooked. The countless amounts of scenes. His dog.
Yes.
His dog allowed Bert to go in. No fuss, no barking. That implies, to me, a deep familiarity. Why would Irving's dog have a deep familiarity potentially with Bert? Were they married at some point? Like, was Irving's Audi memory erased? Is that a thing? Maybe like. The dog really kind of stood out to me.
I looked up the dog as well because I was like, "What's up with this dog?" And because I know the dog is normally a symbol for someone's instincts, and I was like, "What is this?" And so it kind of went into that, but this is sort of my own like spitballing. The dog to me represents his instincts, and that's why he's able to take it with him. But his instincts around Bert are not to be alarmed. They're to be, because if it knows him, it would almost go up and be like, hey.
It just, they show it kind of sitting there, just calmly looking at Bert, not making a fuss. That was so interesting.
No, it was interesting. I mean, that could definitely, there's many ways that could be. Yeah, something's going on with that dog for sure. The dog's name was Radar, by the way.
Detect. Well, that's a good name for kind of any dog. They all got good radars. In this note, Irving calls Bert a Lumen goon, potentially. Which
has its own meaning outside of Lumen, but go on.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, we don't need to go into that. Yeah.
And then Irving's just kind of panicking, trying to walk it back. I know you're not with them, he says. And that's when Bert takes him on a ride. And you mentioned him as a mob kind of driver. A lot of that energy here, just like we kind of see at the White House. There's a mobster kind of vibe with these fascist.
But the diffusion of responsibility is so interesting because he's like, I never hurt any of them, but it's like you drove them to their death, so you were definitely a piece of that. They just.
He has a lot of guilt that he's trying to excuse, either by being severed or comments like
but
that.
It's just so funny how that's how people work, though. They really nailed that on the head.
Dr. Maurer, the James, Egan, and Dr. Maurer competing for the worst characters of all time. We're showing him and Mrs. Casey again. Maurer's observing her while she like sits huddled like at a desk in the corner. Cold Harbor's at 96%. We're reminded. Maurer calls Drummond. Drummond calls Milchick. Drummond says, the final quota was promised today. Get him here now. So, Mark, of course, isn't at work. And they're all kind of panicking over that. Helly emerges from the elevator. This is the first time we see her Helly R in this episode.
Yeah, in a couple episodes.
And since 20 minutes in the season,
yes.
or episode 6.
Right, Helly R. Yes, yeah. Got it.
So when we see her here, it's just important to note, like, last time she was aware Mark was being checked for his nosebleed with Mrs. Swain.
Right.
And then we cut to this. So she's coming off some high emotion. She just slept with him. His nose is bleeding. So she's now, like, searching for him.
Yeah. Typical female. I'm just kidding.
Okay, we are running through the details of this episode, but I think it's important. These are complex episodes. It's helpful just to kind of recap what is happening, whether we have some crazy insight we've discovered.
Yeah, and I do think it could be actually Helly R in this scene, simply because of she has like a bouncy walk that she does when she's doing Helly R, and she's very cool, calm, collected when she's Helena E.
Sure.
Right? And so unless she's like super on top of that and like, you know, making it compensating for that.
I'm going with she's Helly R every time we see her as Helly R.
Yeah.
Never once has she nothing.
Except for that one time she was found out to be Helly E by Irving, which big pivotal scene.
Fine.
I mean, that was proven by the show, but go on.
Okay, fine. Now we go to Outie Mark. Outie Mark is in a car with Devin. He's coughing, of course. He's not in the highest of spirits. Last time we saw Mark was actually at the end of episode 7, after the whole Gemma episode. We get a little kind of up-to-date of Mark at the end of 7, where he's waking up from having passed out from his surgery, his reintegration surgery. Yeah. And when he wakes up now, Devin by his side, he just immediately kind of sees images of Gemma, and that's when episode 7 ends, the great episode 7. In the car now, Mark is saying this was a mistake. We told her, meaning Harmony, everything. She told us shit. We can't trust her. So Mark not a big fan of Mark, the Outie Mark, not a big fan of Mrs. Selvig right now.
Devin has like a great comeback, which is like, yeah, I can't. What's that? I can't hear you between the wind whistling through the hole in your brain from the brain surgery in your basement. Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, like, and then it made me think of Doctor with an R, the doctor who does the surgery, and it's like, who the fuck is
Ragabi?
she? Yeah, Ragabi. Yeah. Like, anyways,
she's a boss.
Yeah. In so many words, go on.
They meet off-road. Devin and Mark are meeting Selvig / Cobell. Devin reminds Mark that we fucking need her. They don't really have any other options, which is a kind of classic, I hate this person, but they're the only option I have situation between Mark and Selvig. Selvig gets a little bossy with Mark right away. I'm sorry. Milchick is calling. They don't answer, right? We're back to the inside. This is where you mentioned this earlier when Helly confronts Milchick, gets really kind of smart with him and mentions do you mean Helena E or Helly E? That's when Seth Milchick says Helena Egan is my employer and you are my subordinate. Whew, there's a lot here. I'm just running through it if that's okay with you. Please stop me at any time. We need a break. You good?
I'm good.
Okay. Back to Gretchen with Dylan Ennie.
Breaks his heart.
Dylan versus Dylan, I wrote down.
Yeah.
Gretchen, I can't see you anymore. Of course, Dylan panics. He proposes with his paper ring. Gretchen does shed some tears and leaves, and then Dylan screams out in a high-pitched scream as she leaves. Now Denny and Helly are talking. Helly's trying to kind of soothe Dylan.
I loved this because it was very telling about Helly and her relationship to her Annie, which is like, if she really loved you, she would never have done this. Like, this is not how people who love each other treat each other, which I think is like, it kind of harkens back to her family.
But she doesn't know her. If she truly is an Annie right here, she has no concept of. She does from the end of season 1.
Yeah,
she sees that. Okay.
Because she goes, which one am I? Am I Helly E or Helly R? Yeah. So she knows that her Outie is basically making her go in there, despite the fact that she tried to kill herself.
Okay, yeah, I was very wrong to say that. Yeah.
Edit that out. No.
And and then that's what the conversation is being about a little bit is like, these Audis are fuck them. They're horrible. They think they're better than us.
Yeah. And then she's like, but you do have a friend, and that was who they took away from you, and he left you a map, and that's the whole impetus for the dark hallway, the elevator.
Yeah. Helly reminds Innie Dillon that she is not your wife, actually. And that's when, Dylan's obviously in his feels.
Dylan
puppy
is
love, puppy broken
adorable,
heart.
Though. Like when he's in his little there's just the actor is incredible. Let's just put it that way.
But he drops a pretty heavy line.
Yeah.
And this is when we're still, I guess we still don't know if this is Helly or Helena. It could still be either. And you get a lot of interesting kind of facial expressions after Dylan says this on Helly's face. It's your fault we're down here at all, right? And if we're so different from our Audis, and how come we couldn't tell when you were gone?
Irving could tell me apart, to which he says Mark couldn't. Which is like, oh, slice.
Again, I think this is just trying to throw us off course into us believing that it could be Helena.
I don't even see it like that. I see it like Helly's like, fuck, like, you're right. Like, he's just pointing out that it's like the difference between us is not necessarily discernible to the naked eye.
But she should have been like, that's not me, bitch. That's some other horrible woman that's like, I didn't do this.
Right. But I think it's like she understands it. She has it's not a unique understanding of her being the same person, but it's just like I think because she chose to do it in like an experimental way, and she doesn't
right.
I just think there's like this whole extra level of like, but that wasn't me. Like, I don't that woman is mean to me too.
Well, and Dylan's conflating himself quite literally with his Audi, saying that's my wife. Like,
yes.
So there's that's
again,
you.
The ninth floor, like the reality, which one's real?
Yeah.
Like which one it's really riding the line of when your mannequin becomes a real boy,
Harmony finally arrives to meet Mark and Devin.
It's perilous.
Yeah, this episode's kind of rough.
No, the more I think about it, because the golden thimble sort of like ties it all together. It gives you the main key to unlock it, which is like you're really trying to understand. It's rough because it's rough for all the characters.
Yeah,
because we are lost in this space of like who is the real Slim Shady? Please stand up, right? And it's like, is it that one? Is it the mean one? Is it the nice one? Well, the mean one has this, but the nice one's the one that we like a lot more, but the mean one has the real world. The mean one, the Audi has the more real world experience. Yeah. The innocent ones versus the guilty ones, I guess,
So we have Harmony meeting with Mark and Devin, and these very uncomfortable scenes and situations that we're forced with in episode 9. Harmony asks Mark how he's doing. Mark kind of breaks into like Adam Scott from a Will Ferrell movie or something.
Yeah. No,
my God. Oh, sorry.
No, they do a great job. It reminded me. I just saw Paul Rudd on Amy Poehler's podcast, and he talks about how like Adam Scott has this like incredible dry sense of humor, and I was just like, damn, they couldn't have gotten a better guy.
He's kind of the best at that out of that whole group of like Adam McKay, Judd Apatow comedy group. Like, he's the best with the dry. Oh my God, so good. My wife's being held prisoner at Loom, and I just got brain surgery in my basement. How have you been? Harmony mentions that we're allies now, which also gets a nice, I thought we were neighbors. Just wonderful snark and fuck you from Mark. Devin just wants to go to the birthing cabin, which I kind of forget the details on this, which is basically where Mark can go back and forth from being as Innie to Audi. There's some like
there's like a force field.
I forgot about,
there's like I look at it like Wi-Fi or something. Where it's like the Wi-Fi is not on in the forest, but it's on in the birthing unit. Worth
mentioning that we don't totally know what's going on with the birthing cabins. we've been exposed to him for 2
Harmony
seasons now.
and his sister Devin,
yeah,
they know the most about it because Devin saw it firsthand, and Harmony like probably invented the technology. So,
sure.
yeah.
And then we had like the politician and his wife.
Right.
The whole
So
thing
she's
was
seen
like,
it firsthand, and like Mark doesn't understand it at all.
Right. It has to do with like being severed while you give birth or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's so you don't remember the pain of
right.
of the process.
I guess it is a little more rudimentary and straightforward in that way. It's just like we're just here for getting pain. We're trying to just avoid pain.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point of Severance, right? Because if
right.
you can avoid that pain, then you can get someone to do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'll edit out that silence here. So Devin wants to go to the birthing cabin. Harmony reveals the Cold Harbor file, which Mark had not heard of yet.
Right.
She assumes Mark hadn't completed it yet because if he had, then Gemma would already be dead, she says. Mark, of course, is, he's in the middle of basically a nervous breakdown on plenty fronts here, aside from the surgery he's in the crazy kind of medical procedure he's going through. He wants to get out of there. Harmony orders Mark to call Milchick, which he obviously is going to respond to with more "fuck you."
Yeah.
Mark says he thinks Harmony is insane. Devin's just like, there's no other option. She knows where Gemma is, so that kind of forces Mark into this phone call that we get to in a moment. We cut back to Helly entering the room with the "hang in there" sign.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the first one to finally get Irving's note. Still kind of crazy that Dylan, with the limited amount of things to do in this place, he never went to get the note.
Dylan has a broken heart.
But before all that, like, he was told about this note a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
He's just like, they looked at it. Not going to go get it. That was always weird to me. Finally, Helly gets it. Dylan's just hopeless and alone in the hall saying, fuck this place. This is when we get to where everyone's just fucking alone and sad. Rough episode. I might say that a few more times.
It's hard to be around a bunch of lonely and sad people.
I mean, it's necessary, but not the most fun thing to watch. Bert is driving Irving and his dog. That's when Bert claims that he never hurt anyone. I want you to know that. I just drove people places.
Cool. Right.
Dylan G's filling out his resignation paperwork, so Dylan's filling that out with Wang and Milchick watching. Wang apologizes to Dylan.
And that pisses Milchick off. He does not like that.
Well, she's ironically going to an empathy retreat or something.
Maybe it's to lose your empathy.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
It must be. Good call. We get to... This episode jumps around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully listeners
Welcome to the series Severance.
Drummond and Milchick, the showdown. I'll try to speak monosyllabically for all the loser bosses out there.
Yeah, so good.
So yeah, Drummond is, rightfully pissed off at Milchick. I mean, Mark S is AWOL. It's like, dude.
But Milchick says, like, that's your bad. Like, my deal is to monitor the innies. Your deal is the outies, son. And then is not his favorite response.
This needs to be said by more mid-level managers to their bosses far more often.
Yeah.
The way that they just try to milk mid-level managers for all they can.
Yeah.
For as little pay as possible. We still don't know how much these guys make, though.
Don't worry, the mid-level manager is on its way out. AI is coming, so...
Oh, God. Isn't that the entry-level employee that's on its way out?
Well, I mean, the entry-level employee, for all intents and purposes, is already gone. Look at the budget crisis.
Milchick says, I have followed protocol, Drummond, but thank you for your remonstration. Uses a big word when he's been already reprimanded for that. Apologize for the word, Drummond says, and that's when we get the infamous devour feculence. Milchick after that. I love what he says after that. I'm owed a measure of respect even by my superiors. It's not my fault what Mark Scout does when he is not at work. It's yours. Nice. One of the iconic scenes from the series.
Yeah.
Mark finally calls Milchick. Also a nice kind of real life scenario that should happen more often. This conversation between the salesperson / entry-level employee to their boss. Mark says, I'm not sick. I just needed the day. Yeah. I mean, the amount of times that I lied about being sick when I worked corporate.
The amount of times they knew you were lying about being
Yeah.
sick. Yeah. And then just everyone goes, okay.
It's like I'm using my 6 days a year, my 6 paid days a year.
Well, he has to come clean because they're like, you are a premier employee or whatever the word is they use. And they're like, we're going to come pick you up at this health center. And he's like, wait a minute. I'm not sick. I am taking the day. I had a nosebleed. Like, I'm just not feeling up to it. I got to get my shit together and I don't need to go into it with you. And then Milchick's like, okay.
Which then that turn right there, I think, is pretty important.
Yeah.
And that real-time turn, because Milchick is in panic mode. Like, he needs this employee. It's his ass. This is his whole job.
But the employee is outside of his jurisdiction.
Right, but that's not how we...
I know.
You know, a mid-level manager, even if that's true, they still don't feel that way end of the day.
They're psychologically programmed to be like, this is my ass. Yeah.
What Mark says is, no, I've just got... Or Milchick says, may I ask why you need the day? And Mark says, no, I've got life stuff. Isn't that what Lumen's all about? Balance. I mean, work is just work, right? Do you know what I mean, Mr. Milchick? There's a flip happening there.
Yeah.
That's a pivotal point for Milchick. And the fact that I guess he just has to say, okay. He's staring at the photo of an iceberg or painting of an iceberg on his wall.
Isn't that where they went? Isn't that the Orbo or whatever?
They weren't on the water. I mean, there was water nearby.
Oh, I thought they were like on the precipice of something.
I don't know.
Or maybe that's Cold Harbor.
It's an iceberg. Yeah, I don't know. He's staring at it. And that's when Milchick's like, okay, just please give me your word that you'll be here tomorrow. Thank you for calling, Milchick even says. I say he's in a kind of state of quiet panic.
Yeah, and also Milchick has his whole MO with the employees is sort of like more respectful than anyone else.
Well, and we also had the facade of that opening season 2, right? Whether it's true or not. But there's an element of truth to that with Milchick, I think, yeah. Yeah,
I think that he tries, I think it's more in his nature to just be a little bit more chill about things, you know.
Right. He's one of the good ones. Still a lot to learn from his character, though.
There is a good one.
All right, we're at the train station. I experienced some train stations
Bert's
the past few weeks.
Act of mercy. Yeah, you did.
The delays from Sac to Chico, I don't even want to get into. Bert drops Irving off at the train station.
Were you flying in Newark at all?
No, I avoided Newark.
Okay, nice.
I was coming out of DC, Reagan in DC around that time. That
okay, I was like, shit.
I just missed it.
Yeah, okay.
That's a whole nother podcast, my trip, because a lot of
forget what I just said.
Beautiful timing stuff happened on that whole trip.
Good.
Where are we? Train station. Bert, I can't know where you get off, and you can never come back to Kier. So this is how the mob driver shows that he really loves the person and he doesn't want them to die, even though he's supposed to kill them, maybe.
It's very the Huntsman in Snow White.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Well, it's just what the Huntsman does with Snow White. He's like, I'm supposed to kill you.
Okay.
And then that's why it's a real issue when the queen is like, hey, who's the fairest of them all? And then the mirror's like, still, it's Snow White.
Can we get a live action of Bert and Irving as the Huntsman in Snow White?
I don't know who would play who, but I do love it. I don't know. It might be the queen. I think, the queen would be his, the Hun.
I don't know the story.
No, but you don't know the story of Snow White?
I mean...
This is crazy.
Sure, I do, I guess.
Yeah, no, of course you do.
The dwarves?
Yeah, there's some dwarves in there.
What, the Huntsman? What is that? It's like
the Huntsman is
mashup.
who the queen sends out to like do her bidding, and the Huntsman's like, you're too beautiful, Snow White. I cannot kill you.
Okay, Snow White. Everybody, check it out. Oh yeah, speaking of live action,
there was a live action. of the Huntsman.
Got a lot of shit because of the actress, but I fully support the live action.
Kristen Stewart in this part, but that's okay.
We have this pretty important moment here between Bert and Irving, which may be the final moment they have together, as far as we know.
I read on this too, and Ben Stiller said like that's what it is written to seem like, and it could be like it's very, but
they'll see each other again.
Probably, yeah. Season 3, here we come.
Irving asks Bert, "Won't Lumen come after you?" He's worried if maybe Bert's, acting outside of his orders. We're reminded that Bert was severed to achieve innocence again, and he says that the innocent part of him fell in love with Irving. Very sweet.
It's sort of like the whole Dylan thing, though. It's like
Sure.
That's why it's crazy when his husband or whatever, Attila, like, because I can't remember his name, he says, like, you guys obviously, like, slept together. And I'm like, I don't think they, I mean, I know they could have.
No, they didn't.
But, like, I mean, but it's just like, yeah, I don't think that's part of it for everyone, you know? I think the reason that they did between Mark and Helly is because Helena slept with Mark. And then, so that initiated that sequence. And then Helly's like, I want to know what that's like, too. Yeah. You know? So, like, I don't think it's, like, of the innocent, the young, any nature to be, like, carnal, you know?
Right. That concept of innocence, though, was just in life and in being a human being is so fascinating. I mean, it's the root of, you know, most world religions, right? We're born sinful people. We're not innocent. We have to be forgiven because we're not inherently innocent people. Innocence is one of those emotions for me in real life that nothing pulls at my heartstrings more than, like, you know, an innocent child who perhaps is going through some form of, like, terror or something. Like, obviously those will wrench at your heartstrings, but just even kind of more benign moments where I see, like, the innocence of a child, it fucking kills me every time. Even a good moment.
Yeah.
And, like, the concept of innocent human beings is very important to the story of humanity in general.
Yeah, it's bullshit. No one's innocent, and that's okay. Like, it's
that's
okay.
Isn't that what Christianity says?
Well, it's not even that. It's just like Hitler was an innocent child. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at a life as a life,
but the children are innocent.
Yeah, but your children will eventually grow up.
Right. But they're innocent while they're children.
But yeah, but I mean, children. That's not true. Children are some of the most, like, rude motherfuckers in the entire world. They don't know what they're doing, which makes them innocent. But sometimes they do.
Well, we're generalizing a bit on how.
Well, I'm just saying, like, a lot of kids say, yes, obviously, I think if you're in a war-torn country and you're 3 years old and something comes and bombs the fuck out of your village or whatever, that is innocence, right? Like, I get that. But the reason they have you born into sin is so they can get more people for their religion. I mean, that's the whole. So if you get baptized, you're all of a sudden innocent again. Like, the water cleans you of your disgusting past or whatever, 6-month-old past, and then. Just, I guess
what just the concept of innocence is a very profound human kind of topic, I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely. It's inherent. Yeah, I would say it's like a universal, you know, like, contemplation.
And the innies, the whole point of us talking about this now is that the innies are innocent. They didn't ask. I mean, just like all human beings. No human being has to be.
But are they? Like, they are part of the body that did the shitty things. Like, Bert's not innocent because he doesn't remember doing the shitty things.
Well, they are distinctly two different people.
No, they're super not. One just can't remember what the other one did.
And therefore, they did not do it.
Yeah, well, no, but I'm talking about a 3-year-old and whatever.
Sure.
That's different than what Bert is like. Hey, we're gonna. It's like the newborn, the reborn Christians or whatever, where it's like. And I don't say this, like, judgmentally. Like, I've done my fair share of, like, dumb, shitty things. But it's like, oh, you get this idea of, like, reborn, rebirth. But it's like, no, someone is just saying, like, hey, psychologically, you can start over. And you don't have to, like, identify as that person before right now. Like, all that shit you did when you were on meth, like, that's cool. Like, it's not cool, but it's cool. We're going to consider you a different person now. But the person that, like, you hit their kid with your car, like, they don't look at that rebirth as anything. They're like, you're that person, dude, and, like, congratulations on being able to absolve yourself through religion. But I get to live with those consequences.
I think this is maybe the best debate that we've had about this show so far. I love this combo.
From the hardest episode, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the best debate to have, and then whether Heliar exists is the second best debate to have.
According to those Boston doctors.
Philadelphia.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. I know. I've heard.
The train is too far to Boston.
No. Yeah.
Irving, I want to remember it. So Bert's just like, Irving's like, Irving doesn't want to leave this love. He says he's never been loved before. And this is Audi Irving, by the way, who has a memory of his entire life. Interesting comments here from him. Bert says, well, now you have. How does it feel? And eventually just go. Irving, I've never had this. I want to have it. I'm ready. Bert, we can't. Bon voyage, buddy. Interesting choice
Buddy
of word
is such a bummer from someone that you're in love with.
Did you just see that? I just saw a reel where this stand-up, he's like, white people don't have like a racial slur. Like, buddy, that's not true. Yeah. It's a buddy. Yeah. You call a white guy a buddy, they will freak out. So yeah,
no,
not a great
one
thing
of my
to say.
best friends always calls me buddy, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you have to know. But
it's what I will. If I want to antagonize somebody, that's what I will say to them.
Right, but to have your lover call you buddy, I would want to KMS. Yeah.
Maybe that was his way of helping him kind of cut the cord a little bit more.
I think so, but also like they are in. So like you can love your buddy, but that's just not what you would call, you know what I mean? You'd call,
fuck buddy is a term.
Right, no, for sure. I think we're on to something. Let's follow that. Yeah, no.
Let's unpack fuck buddy. No.
Oh man, what a bummer. Please, never let that avoid me. Miss me with that.
They weren't even fuck buddies either.
No, they were just like holding hands buddies.
I forgot the pods, we're going now, hour 6 in. I forgot. This is actually there's so many I am all alone and life is horrible moments.
Yeah.
This is the real montage. Dylan sits alone in the hall. Miss Huang waits outside alone for her short bus, her Lumen short bus.
Not even able to say goodbye to her family, by the way, which was like a total,
Irving and the dog alone on the train.
At least he has his dog.
Yeah, quote unquote.
Radar.
Bert still sits alone in the station, so he didn't leave right away. He's sitting there. Dylan enters the elevator alone.
He's got to make sure that Irving doesn't get off the train.
Oh, is that what it is?
I don't know, but I'm thinking of like a hitman. You gotta
big hitman energy.
The huntsmen do, Go on.
The sun is setting finally.
Episode 9.
The train leaving with Irving is along that narrow track into the horizon.
Hallway.
Yes, thank you. Yes, into the narrow hall lights. Of the Lumen offices. Mark gets under that tarp in the back of the pickup, which we saw Harmony do back a little while ago.
I wonder who else has been under that tarp. That seems to be a common. And also, like Lumen, for being so smart, they sure have missed that tarp. That is really
It goes to show.
Yeah,
there's no Trojan horse like a good tarp in a pickup.
Yeah, and an old beater. That's right.
I mean, it makes me think of illegal situations here, illegal immigration.
Yeah.
God, I hate Donald Trump and his voters. Anyways, Heliar practices the memorization of Irving's directions. Would Helena do this? This is Heliar. Come on. I'm always going to be like, could this be Helena?
You're so funny because you were like at a resolve maybe like but 15 minutes ago. And you're like, it's always Heliar. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go along with that. And you are having an any outer war.
You're making me choke on my cherry Coke.
Oh.
Thank you, by the way, for the cherry Coke.
Those are some bars, Derek.
No, I'm still going to ask that question every time.
Yeah. I sort of think because she got found out that one time that she's less inclined to show up as Helly or Helene.
Okay. Oh, so she's had the option.
I just think it's like they're like, there's no point of you showing up like this, and also like you almost got killed. You almost killed yourself, right. And now you've almost been killed by one of your coworkers. She's had a very perilous time.
James Egan appears on the severed floor.
What the fuck?
You tricked me, my Helly.
Ugh.
Who does he? He talks like kind of like a effeminate Bane.
Yeah, he's got something going on.
Me, my Helly.
He talks like RFK.
Well, I can't believe I'm defending RFK's voice here, but I prefer RFK to James Egan's tone.
Wow.
Yeah, James is bad. Helly gives out a what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the Helly? You know that song? What the hell?
Yes. What the hell?
Did that come from Severance?
It could have.
Maybe.
Yeah, no. It's the first time white culture has influenced black culture ever.
What the Helly? That came from Severance.
Yeah.
Fusing pop culture into the pod at all times. Harmony and Devin. We're almost here. We've almost made it through, listeners. Thank you for sticking with us. Harmony and Devin pull up to the birthing cabins.
Hold on, I want to go back on that.
Okay.
I don't mean to say that's white culture. There is so much rad. Okay, yeah, there's like a lot of rad infusion of like I just don't want people to think that like I'm claiming
Third
Severance.
Eye Blind, hamburgers, there's white culture.
But I mean I don't want people to think I think Severance is white culture. There's definitely a lot of cool like moments, especially with Milchek, where it's like what comes up in the next episode with like the drum line, and there's a lot of like uniquely sort of like African American, to use that term loosely, experience that even like with the paintings, right, where it's like they're painted black. So I don't want people to think
your white guilt is really coming out here.
It is real, because I don't want people to think I'm owning this show as a white person. This show belongs to the culture, the American culture, the world culture, the global culture.
I'll bring this up with Corey on the next podcast.
Oh my god, okay. Corey's gonna be like that bitch.
There's too much to talk about there. Let's stay on track here.
Yeah.
We're going to Cottage 5. Oh, so Harmony pulls up to the guard, right? This is when we get that Twilight Zone after hours code speak that if you hadn't seen the episode, you have no idea what's going on. As if Severance needs to make things more confusing. You had to watch a 1962 Twilight Zone episode to get what they're saying.
You had to.
Well, thankfully, there's the internet that told us what to watch after the fact. We're going to Cottage 5, Harmony says. She's part of James, so Devin's sitting in the passenger seat. The guard is not really guarding her hardest right there. She's just kind of going along with whatever Harmony wants. Harmony does have power and sway in the whole thing, so...
Also, like, total classic, like, underpaid security guard behavior.
For sure.
Yeah.
I used to live in Culver City from, like, 04 to 07, and there's the Sony lot. We live literally right across the street.
Okay. And
one night, me and buddies drunk drove up to the lot, and I was like, hey, I have a 2 a.m. call with threw out a director's name. They were about to let us in.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not a prankster, so like I literally was like, we're just kidding.
Yeah,
we turned around, but we probably led into the fucking Sony lot at 2 in the morning.
No, yeah, it's 2 a.m. Yeah, it's like that guy wants to get back to his like whatever he's watching on his phone. He's got Severance to watch.
Fake it till you make it is so. When you live in L.A. or like in New York, I think like it is interesting.
Confidence gets you, honestly. It's like people want to say like it's this, that, the other. Confidence is the number one thing that'll get you into rooms.
Right, it's true. Okay, we're going to Cottage 5. She's part of James. No one's to know, Harmony says.
Is this okay? Are they alluding to? I hadn't thought of this the way that you just put this, but are they like saying like this is one of James' like ladies? And he's impregnated her, and no one is to know.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, wow.
Good call.
Yeah.
Realize that
Neither did I. It's how you said it. Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, that sounds right.
But then why is this Twilight Zone code Miss Marsha White? That's the character in the Twilight Zone episode. 9th floor. The guard says specialties department. I'd failed to mention that. The character thinks she's going to like accessories, and the elevator man's like, no, you're going to the specialties department. Like sends her to the floor.
Maybe the specialties department is like where the Wi-Fi, the Severance Wi-Fi is.
Yep.
Yeah.
The specialties. Ooh. Yeah, the different world that's undetected by the rest. I like this. We are breaking this down.
Yeah.
Harmony, I'm looking for a gold thimble. Again, ripped straight from the episode. You have your gold thimble theories. I will say that the gold thimble in the episode, while the mannequin's still a woman, she notices that it's damaged and she has to return it. So that's part of the episode too. It's like the whole second half is her going to return the thimble, and the managers are like, there is no 9th floor. What are you talking about? Like there is no employee.
Chestnut.
And she sees the employee as a mannequin. So anyways, that's part of it too. Okay. She's returning this gold thimble that's damaged.
Yeah.
Make that what you will in relation to this show. Harmony says, I'm looking for a gold thimble. You had some decent guesses as to what this could be coded for, but I'm at a loss.
I think it's more like thematic symbolism than it is like what. Yeah, and I think that we've talked about that, which it's the innie outie situation, like which one's real and this where does one end and the other one begin, which is why innocence in this context is a joke.
So Mark is back in the cabin. This is a nice prelude to kind of the juicy stuff that we get in the season finale.
Oof, yeah.
Mark Severs in the cabin. He sees Devin. Devin's like, hey, remember me?
What's the last thing you said?
Yeah. And last thing he said was, she's alive. Harmony is there standing in front of the fire. There's some neat symbolism there. Did you read about anything about the image of that?
No, but I saw it with my own two peepers, and I was like, this is no joke.
But I don't know, did you tell me this, or I read that it was like there's like a uterus or womb thing with that? I don't know. I didn't see
Probably.
that.
I mean, it's a birthing center, first of all. And then also it's like, again, like I think the birthing center is like a beautiful, simple metaphor for what's going on between the severance, or between being like reintegrated. It's like you are coming out something that you weren't before. Again, I don't think that has any bearing on your innocence, but I do think that it does have a lot of like influence on your memory, and there's also this very interesting alchemical sort of trope. It's like the whole point is like the chemical marriage, the alchemical marriage, and it's like the idea that you're marrying your left and right hemispheres, which is basically just like an idea that you're marrying your actions and your will. And so I guess that's called praxis or something. But like, so I always think of like, they're sort of like touching on that too, which is like, there's the will of the character, and then there is the actions of the character, and how not everyone, the thesis of alchemy is sort of that like, not everyone is born with that together. And so you have to like work to have that together. I mean, there's a couple different theses of alchemy, but so this idea that like severance is like you're severing the will and the desire is interesting.
You are listening to the Living Directors Podcast, the Severance episodes. Thanks for tuning in once again. My name is Derek A.
My name is Amy D.
You can now find our audio on YouTube. That's new, so go to @LivingDirectors on YouTube. Follow us there. We're still brand new on these platforms, so we need all the subscribers we can get. We're on all the main audio platforms. We had a little snafu with me stealing the music to the show. Had to re-upload some episodes, so sorry if anybody went to try to find them and they were gone.
Derek
for like
A, you
week.
are not innocent.
I fixed the copyright issue, so go to Apple, Spotify, etc. to listen to the pods there. We have one more left
of this series.
Yes, and then we need to decide what the next show is going to be. I cannot wait to cover the finale. We're doing this in less than a month. I promise.
We're really going to try for next week.
Yes,
everyone.
We're scheduling it.
That's never been the problem. Always been scheduled. Yeah.
All right, any final words, parting words?
Follow me on Instagram at She's Amy D, and none of us are innocent. Those are my final words.
@LivingDirectors on Instagram too.
Bye.